Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic because recently Supreme Court has ordered time-bound expulsion of all those families whose claims under the Forest Rights Act has been rejected by the authorities. So what is this Forest Right Act and why Supreme Court has ordered eviction of these forest dwellers? We'll discuss in details. For my video updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So guys, this is our channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for any government exam, our pen drive and tablet courses are also available. For additional information, you can call on these numbers or you can visit our website too. So my lectures, the explanation of my lectures is available in both the languages, whether it is Hindi or English. So what is the relevance of this topic in your exam? From UPSC perspective, it will be covered under these topics in your mains paper 2 governance, and at objective level, Forest Right Act is important, and at mains level, you should know about the issues over forest dwelling right. There you can mention this. Now why it is in news? Because as told you, Supreme Court has ordered the eviction of certain families whose claims have been rejected under Forest Right Act. So what is Forest Right Act? I'll tell you, I'll explain it further. See, the countrywide data on 1.89 million households comes from the November 2018 report, which was compiled by Union Tribal Affairs Ministry, and this is the total number of claims to forest lands that have been rejected under the Forest Right Acts across all the 35 states and union territories. Now let's see what is the background of this. So this Forest Right Act, it was passed in 2006, and now the court orders claims because they were hearing a case which was filed by wildlife groups and retired forest officers in 2009. Now see, this Forest Right Act, it requires the government to give back rights over traditional forest lands to tribals and other forest dwellers. So to whom this, under this right, two communities were covered. One was tribals and other was the community, the forest dwelling community. Now the tribals and other forest dwellers are permitted to lay claims before authorities through a let down process in this particular act. Now these authorities, based on criteria set in a land and regulations, are required to either approve or reject the claim. So it depends upon the authorities, with several layers of appeals being available to claimants. Now now you know about these orders which came recently. So this petition, besides challenging the constitutional validity of the law, they also demanded that those whose claims has been rejected be evicted as encroachers. Okay, so hearing this case back in March 2018, the Supreme Court had asked the state to report on the status of eviction, that why these people have not evicted yet. So now what are the Supreme Court directions? So it was a 3-judge bench, Justice Arun Mishra, Naveen Sinha and Indira Banerjee. So they have ordered the chief secretaries of various states to evict those whose claims have been rejected as forest dwellers. And they have also ordered FSI, that is Forest Survey of India, to make a satellite survey about the encroachment positions. So now we'll talk about, so okay, this is a picture here. You can see what Supreme Court had said. Supreme Court wants the status of eviction also, and Supreme Court said if eviction did not take place, it will take strict action against the authorities. So we'll try to understand this whole process, but before that we need to understand what is Forest Right Act. So see, as I told you, this legislation was passed in 2006. Now the eligibility to get right under the act is confined to those who primarily reside. So there are two people who can claim under this act the land, the forest land. One is the members of scheduled tribe, and others who can prove that they are residing in the forest from last 75 years, which is a very difficult condition. So this Forest Right Act was introduced to address the historic injustice of decades of rights denied to the tribals and forest dwellers due to the colonial forest laws in the country. So this FRA recognizes the forest dwelling communities have 3 kinds of right. First is individual right. Second is community right. Third is individual rights, community forest resource rights. So in individual rights, the rights like grazing, fuel wood collection, fishing, ownership and disposal of non-timber forest produce, In community rights, okay, so the one I said is community rights. In individual rights, there are occupation and cultivation, and community forest rights to protect and generate and conserve, manage the community forest resource areas. So these three kind of rights are entitled to these people. So there are various rights, other rights also which are entitled to them. So these are title rights. So what are title rights? See, ownership to land that is cultivated by tribals or forest dwellers subject to a maximum of 4 hectares. So ownership is only for land that is actually being cultivated by concerned family. So they have this right. Then they have use rights, that is they have right to minor forest produce, that is they also have including the ownership also to grazing areas, to pastoralist routes, etc. And relief and development rights means that they have right to rehabilitation in case of illegal eviction or forced displacement, and to basic amenities subject to restriction of forest protection. And last right they have is to protect forest and wildlife. So there are other members which are known as OTFDS. These are the other people who depend upon the forest, so other traditional forest dwellers. So one of the major limitations of the FRA is differentiated eligibility of ST and OTFD, that is other traditional forest dwellers claimants. So this is compounded by the ambiguity in the wording of the act that has disadvantaged the latter severely, because these people are required to prove continuous residence or dependence in the areas being claimed for 3 generations. So this date backs to the period when most of these areas were under princely states or zamindars with no survey or land demarcation and no government records. Thus, these equally deserving communities are unable to produce documentary evidence to support their claims. That is why the 1.89 million people who will be evicted as ordered by Supreme Court they mostly belong to these people who cannot bring out the proper documents to prove their problem. Now see, there is certain eligibility to get right under the act that are confined to those who primarily reside in forest and who depend on forest and forest land for a livelihood. So further, either the claimant must be a member of scheduled tribes or he must have been residing in the forest for 75 years. Now I already discussed with you the problems of other traditional forest dwellers. Now, who are the agencies who are involved in it? So this act provides that the Gram Sabha, firstly it is Gram Sabha or village assembly, will initially pass a resolution recommending whose rights to which sources should be recognized, and next is your subdivision, that is known as taluka. Okay, and subsequently it will be decided by the district level. Now the screening committees consist of 3 government officials, forest, revenue and tribal welfare departments, and 3 elected members of the local body at that level. So these committees also hear to these appeals. Now see, what are the concerns? So first concern is inaction from the forest department, because several activists have pointed to the inaction from the forest department officials in granting forest rights to these tribal and forest dwellers, issuing land rights documents and other identity cards. And next is that tribals and other forest dwellers have been living in the forest area for centuries, which is very difficult to prove for them. There are certain other factors also that have prevented the proper implementation of FRA since 2006. So these are like, first is process of documenting community claim. So as I already told you, it's very difficult to prove the document, because the process of documenting communities claims under FRA is very intensive. So rough maps of community and individual claims are prepared democratically by Gram Sabhas. These are then verified on the ground with annotated evidence before being submitted to the relevant authorities. Now the Gram Sabha is treated as public authority under FRA, and if the higher authorities under the law reject its claims, substantive reasons have to be provided for doing so. So this exhaustive process is why the official dictate to implement FRA so quickly lacks any understanding about the extent of the task and labor involved. So this is one reason. Other is reluctance of the forest bureaucracy to give up control. So this is another main factor that is inhibiting the FRA's full implementation, is the reluctance of the forest bureaucracy to give up control. So the forest bureaucracy has misinterpreted FRA as an instrument to regularize encroachment. This is seen in its emphasis on recognizing individual claims while ignoring collective claims. So to date, the total amount of land where rights have been recognized under FRA is just 3.13 million hectares, right? Mostly under claims for individual occupancy rights. Third is narrow interpretation of FRA. Because why narrow interpretation? That is also blamed because it is against the letter and spirit of the law, which seeks to undo historical injustice. So it also contradicts the estimates for forest area collectively used by tribal and other forest communities. Environment Ministry moves are also condemnable because the Environment Ministry conduct also causes concern, because entrusted with stewarding our forest, it has instead concentrated great energy how to hasten their felling. In doing this, it appears that it has, among other things, mounted as prolonged effort, because they need to understand that if they want to conserve the forest, they want to protect the forest, they have to involve the local communities, which they have forgotten. Now see, this was one side of the story and some data, but here we'll talk about the petitioners. So the petitioners are facing criticism, but they are saying that forest right groups and community leaders, they released a clarification and they said that this particular Supreme Court order will not affect the genuine claimants. So this is just for the bogus claimants who are claiming the land when they are not living there, right? So that is why they have given a petition in the Supreme Court. But at the same time, Supreme Court has also been criticized and there were sharp reactions because central government did not even defend the rights of these communities in the court, because it was expected that the central government lawyers will defend this case, but they did not do it. Now forest right activists, they say that rejection of claims is not grounds of believing a person has no right, as the claims are often turned down to illegal intervention, because they say there is a lot of corruption in the bureaucracy also. So you can believe that the claims which have been rejected is a big game in the bureaucracy also. So now here, what could be the conclusion? See, the implementation of this act in 2006 has been opaque and there is serious lack of awareness about its provisions also, not only among the beneficiaries but also among the officials in charge of implementing it. So given the complaints from either side, it is a time that the government should review the law and also look at the objections that were raised when it was first tabled as a bill. But now as Supreme Court judgment has come, because the courts always depend upon the evidence, and moreover there was no lawyer who will defend this case in the Supreme Court. They did not defend the rights properly of the tribal community. So you are bringing ordinance for triple talaq and all these things, and government can also bring an ordinance in this case also till the time they revise this policy also for the benefit of tribal people, right? So this is just a conclusion. So if you have any confusion, you can contact me. The PDF of this lecture will be uploaded on our website. Thank you.